1. Paleolithic age around 3 million years ago. The species Homo habilis in Africa began crafting crude stone tools. This marked the beginning of a series of evolutionary advancements. Homo erectus appeared afterward. This species walked fully upright, had a body structure similar to modern humans, and, most importantly, knew how to use and maintain fire. The ability to control fire not only helped them cook food, improving nutritional value and reducing jaw size, but also allowed humans to settle in colder climates and expand across Eurasia. During the Paleolithic Age, humans lived mainly by hunting and gathering. Groups usually consisted of only a few dozen individuals who moved continuously following animal herds and seasonal resources. Society was highly egalitarian because wealth could not be accumulated. Leadership was based largely on experience and physical strength. By the end of this period, around 300,000 to 40,000 years ago, Homo sapiens, modern humans, emerged in Africa and then spread across the world. Evidence suggests they competed or interbred with Neanderthals and Denisovans. Around 40,000 BCE, modern humans created the earliest artworks, such as the cave paintings of Lascaux, France, and Altamira, Spain, depicting bulls, horses, and bison. This art reflects early spiritual life, primitive beliefs, and the imagination of ancient humans. 2. Mesolithic age after the last ice age. Around 10,000 BCE, Earth's climate stabilized and warmed. Humans began to settle for longer periods thanks to abundant resources along rivers and lakes. Stone tools became more refined, such as arrowheads, fishhooks, and small axe blades. Although animals were not fully domesticated yet, humans had a clearer understanding of natural cycles, which led to early forms of environmental management, such as burning forests to create land for growing wild plants. Point 3. Neolithic age around 10,000 BCE in the Mesopotamian region. A major revolution took place, the agricultural revolution. Humans began domesticating wheat, barley, goats, and sheep, and later pigs and cattle. Agriculture allowed people to live in permanent settlements, form villages, store food, and increase population size. Archaeological sites like Catalhoch, Turkey, 7000 BCE, show that societies became increasingly complex with labor specialization. Farmers, potters, stone workers, weavers. Pottery developed rapidly, helping store food more effectively. Houses made of clay and wood appeared. Fertility cults and worship of deities associated with reproduction, Earth and the sun emerged. These developments laid the foundation for organized society, religion, and eventually early states. Point 4. Chalcolithic age, early metal period, varies by region. Around 4000 to 3000 BCE, many regions began practicing primitive metallurgy, producing the first metal tools. This dramatically changed social relationships. Those who possessed copper tools or valuable minerals gained power. Stronger tribes began forming alliances or conquering weaker groups. Large villages evolved into towns, which later became city-states and early civilizations. Point 5. Summary of prehistory. Prehistory laid the foundation for all later civilizations. Language, art, early religions, tools, and group cooperation. Most importantly, the emergence of agriculture and settled life marked a major leap forward, enabling societies to enter the age of civilization. Ancient Age, 3500 BCE, 500 CE. A period marking the rise of the first civilizations, the emergence of states, writing systems, religions, and complex social structures. The Ancient Age represents a monumental turning point in human history, marking the transition from early agricultural communities to the first advanced civilizations with highly organized societies, monumental architecture, and rich intellectual traditions. This era spans roughly 4,000 years, from the advent of the earliest writing around 3,500 BCE to the fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476 CE, which marks the beginning of the Middle Ages. During this crucial period, many great civilizations developed along major rivers, which provided water, fertile soil, and convenient transportation for agriculture and trade. It was in these regions that the earliest states emerged, laws were created, organized religions took form, and writing systems were developed to manage society, record knowledge, and transmit information. Point 1. Mesopotamian civilization. The cradle of writing. One of the earliest civilizations was Mesopotamia, located between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, modern-day Iraq. Here, the Sumerians created cuneiform writing around 3,300 BCE by pressing a reed stylus into soft clay tablets. Initially, writing served to record goods and taxes, but gradually it became a tool for conveying laws, epics, myths, and religious texts. Early city-states such as Uruk, Ur, and Lagash flourished, featuring massive step temple complexes known as ziggurats. The Sumerians invented many technologies, including the wheel, the sexagesimal base 60 number system, the basis of how we measure time today, calendars, and irrigation systems. After the Sumerians, empires such as Akkad, Assyria, and Babylon rose to dominance, leaving behind famous legal documents such as the Code of Hammurabi, one of the earliest known law codes in history. 2. Ancient Egypt, pyramids, mathematics, and medicine. While Mesopotamia thrived in the Middle East, ancient Egypt developed along the Nile River, the gift of the Nile, as the historian Herodotus described it. The stability of the river supported strong agriculture and provided resources for a centralized state. The Egyptians built monumental pyramids during the Old Kingdom, around 2600 to 2500 BCE, including the Great Pyramid of Khufu, a timeless architectural wonder. Egyptian mathematics, astronomy, and medicine reached impressive levels. They could measure land, divide time into a 365-day year, perform basic surgeries, diagnose illnesses, and use hundreds of medicinal herbs. Hieroglyphic writing was carved on stone or written on papyrus. Egyptian religion was rich, featuring gods such as Ra, Osiris, and Isis, along with a deep belief in the afterlife expressed through mummification. 3. Ancient India, Harappa civilization, and the Brahmi script in the Indus and Sarasvati river valleys. The Harappa, Mohenjo-daro civilization, 2600 and 1900 BCE, became one of the earliest urban societies. Its cities were laid out on grid plans and had advanced drainage systems, surpassing many other civilizations of the same era. The Harappans traded with Mesopotamia, crafted pottery and jewelry, and used carved seals featuring symbols, though their writing system remains undeciphered. Around 500 BCE, the Brahmi script emerged and later became the foundation for most modern South Asian writing systems. Ancient India was also a center of philosophy and religion, witnessing the rise of Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism, traditions that profoundly shaped Asian culture. 4. Ancient China, Yellow River civilization, Chinese characters, and philosophy in the East. Ancient Chinese civilization developed along the Yellow River. Early dynasties such as Xia, Shang, and Zhou established the foundations of Chinese cultural identity. During the Shang dynasty, oracle bone script, the earliest form of Chinese writing, was carved onto animal bones used for divination. Ancient China advanced through agriculture, metallurgy, pottery, and the formation of an organized bureaucracy. The Spring and Autumn and Warring States periods witnessed the birth of major philosophical traditions such as Confucianism, Taoism, and legalism, which shaped East Asian thought for millennia. The Qin dynasty, 221 BCE, unified China, standardizing measurements, currency, and writing, while the Han dynasty expanded trade across the Silk Road. 5. Ancient Greece, the birthplace of democracy, science, and Western philosophy in Europe. Ancient Greece played a foundational role in the development of Western civilization. City-states such as Athens, Sparta, and Corinth thrived on maritime culture, commerce, and intellectual pursuits. Athens pioneered the world's first direct democracy. Great philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle laid the groundwork for logic, ethics, and natural sciences. Greece excelled in art, architecture, such as the Parthenon, sculpture, mathematics, Euclid, Pythagoras, medicine, Hippocrates, and epic literature, Homer. The conquests of Alexander the Great spread Greek culture across the Middle East and as far as India. 6. Ancient Rome, law, engineering, and a vast empire following Greece. The Roman Empire became one of the greatest powers of the ancient world. Beginning as a small city-state, Rome expanded into an empire dominating the entire Mediterranean. The Romans created a legal system that would influence Western law for centuries. They developed impressive infrastructure, stone roads, bridges, public baths, arenas, and aqueducts, and mastered military organization. Rome became a crossroads of civilizations, absorbing Greek knowledge and spreading it throughout Europe. Christianity emerged and expanded during the Roman era, shaping the transition into the Middle Ages. 7. The Hebrews and the birth of monotheism in the Near East. The Hebrew people introduced a transformative concept, monotheism, the belief in a single, universal God. The Hebrew Bible and Jewish religious traditions formed the foundation of Judaism, which later influenced Christianity and Islam. This was a major spiritual development that diverged from the polytheistic religions common among other ancient civilizations. 8. The rise of complex social systems overall. The ancient age marks the birth of the essential pillars of civilized society. The state, centralized authority managing land, taxation, and armies. Law, from Hammurabi's Code to Roman law, forming the basis of future legal systems. Religion, temples, rituals, mythologies, and moral orders. Writing, recording history, laws, trade, and knowledge. Currency and trade, creating major exchange routes connecting Asia, Europe, and Africa. Architecture and art, pyramids, temples, statues, and monumental public works. The ancient age is the period when humans first built stable institutions, vast knowledge systems, and enduring monuments, laying the foundation for every later chapter in world history. 3. The Middle Ages, 500 to 1500. The Middle Ages span roughly 1,000 years and marked the transition from the ancient world to the early modern era. This was a time when crucial political, religious, and cultural institutions took shape across Europe and Asia. It was also an era of great upheaval. Empires collapsed, new dynasties emerged, religious wars broke out, and global trade networks expanded. Although often stereotyped as a dark age, the Middle Ages in reality saw significant innovations and progress in society, education, agriculture, architecture, and the arts. Western Europe in the Middle Ages, feudalism and the dominance of Catholicism. 1. The fall of the Roman Empire and the rise of feudal society in 476 CE. The Western Roman Empire collapsed under pressure from various Germanic tribes. The old political order disintegrated, plunging Western Europe into a decentralized system in which local lords controlled land, castles, and their own military forces. Social relations were based on a strict hierarchy. Lords, landowners who offered protection. Serfs, peasants who worked the land and paid taxes in exchange for security. Knights, mounted warriors who defended the territory and served their lords. This feudal structure dominated Western Europe from the 6th to the 15th century. 2. The Catholic Church, the greatest spiritual authority in Europe after the fall of Rome. The Catholic Church remained the only institution with a unified structure across Europe. The Pope in Rome held immense spiritual authority and exerted strong political influence, controlled education, literacy, and libraries, served as mediator among kings and nobles, established monasteries that preserved ancient knowledge. Large cathedrals in Romanesque and Gothic styles, such as Notre Dame de Paris, were constructed and became iconic symbols of medieval architecture. 3. The Crusades, 1096 to 1291. Under the banner of reclaiming Jerusalem from Muslim control, the Church launched 8 crusades, attracting millions of participants from across Europe. Although the military objectives ultimately failed, the Crusades brought significant changes, increased cultural exchange between East and West, introduction of Arabic science, mathematics, and medicine into Europe, the rise of major trading cities such as Venice and Genoa. 2. East Asia, the age of powerful dynasties and flourishing cultures. 1. China, dynastic shifts and civilizational advancements. China during the Middle Ages witnessed the rule of several major dynasties. Sui, 581 to 618, reunified China after centuries of division. Tang, 618 to 907, a golden age of poetry, trade, and Silk Road prosperity. Song, 960 to 1279, scientific breakthroughs such as gunpowder, the compass, and printing, strong commercial growth. Yuan, 1271 to 1368, Mongol rule, linking East and West through Pax Mongolica. Ming, 1368 to 1644, revival of Han culture and maritime expeditions under Zheng He. East Asia at this time was a global center of population, economy, and technological innovation. 2. Japan. The samurai era and the shogun medieval Japan developed a unique political system. The emperor served as a symbolic figure. The shogun held actual political power. The samurai formed the warrior class, living by the code of Bushido. Cultural icons such as katana swords, lamellar armor, wooden castles, and the tea ceremony emerged during this era, reflecting Japan's distinct medieval identity. 3. The Islamic world. The scientific center of humanity after the death of Muhammad in 632, Islamic empires such as the Umayyad and Abbasid expanded rapidly from Spain to India. During the Islamic Golden Age, 750 to 1250, mathematics, development of algebra, and spread of Arabic numerals. Astronomy, precise star charts and observatories. Medicine, scholars like Avicenna wrote the canon of medicine, used for centuries. Philosophy, translation of Greek texts and growth of rational thought. Cities such as Baghdad, Cordoba, and Cairo became brilliant centers of global knowledge. 4. Vietnam in the Middle Ages, from northern domination to independence. 1. The period of Chinese rule and the struggle for autonomy. Vietnam spent over 1,000 years under Chinese domination, absorbing political and cultural influences while continuously fighting for independence. Major uprisings included the Trung sisters 40 to 43, Lady True 248, Lai Bi 544, establishing Van Xuan Mai Tuk Loan 722, Feng Hung 791. 2. The feudal independent era, building the Dai Viet Staten 938. Ngo Nguyen defeated the Southern Han at the Battle of Bac Dang, marking Vietnam's independence. No Dinh. Early Lu 938 to 1009, foundation of centralized governance. Lai dynasty 1009 to 1225, flourishing of culture and Buddhism. Construction of Tang Long Tran dynasty 1225 to 1403, victories over the Mongol invasions. Advances in literature and education. Later Lu dynasty 1428 to 1527 under Lu Tan Tong, legal reforms and strong economic development. This era shaped Vietnamese national identity, expanded territories southward, and fostered a vibrant Dai Viet. The significance of the Middle Ages despite its turbulence. The medieval period laid the foundation for the modern world, formation of European nation-states, preservation and expansion of ancient knowledge by monasteries and Islamic scholars, cultural exchange across Eurasia through trade and warfare, rise of the merchant class, paving the way for the Renaissance. The Middle Ages was not a time of stagnation, but a crucial developmental phase in which civilizations evolved along unique paths and shaped today's global political and cultural landscape. 4. Early Modern Age, 1500–1800. The early modern age marks an era of explosive growth in knowledge, commerce, science, and philosophy. It was during this period that Europe broke away from the structures of the Middle Ages and moved toward a new world, one driven by individual values, rational thought, exploration, and market economies. Over the course of these 3 centuries, humanity witnessed profound transformations. The revival of culture, the expansion of the known world, and a revolution in scientific thought that completely reshaped humanity's understanding of the universe and of itself. The Renaissance. The cultural rebirth of Europe. The Renaissance began in Italy in the 14th century and then spread across Europe. It represented a rebirth of classical Greco-Roman knowledge, emphasizing human potential and individual creativity, freedom of thought, scientific observation, and experimentation, realistic art, and anatomical study. Notable figures include Leonardo da Vinci, painter, inventor, anatomist Michelangelo, the David statue, the Sistine Chapel, ceiling Raphael, the School of Athens William Shakespeare, the soul of English literature. The Renaissance was more than an artistic movement, it signaled deep changes in philosophy, politics, and science, laying the groundwork for modern thought. 2. The Age of Discovery. Expanding the known world from the late 15th century onward, Europe entered an age of maritime exploration, driven by advances in shipbuilding and cartography. Key explorers: Christopher Columbus, 1492. Discovery of the Americas: Vasco da Gama, 1498. Sea route to India: Ferdinand Magellan, 1519 to 1522. First circumnavigation of the globe: Hernan Cortez and Francisco Pizarro. Conquest of the Aztec and Inca empires. Consequences: connected the Old World and the New World. Established global trade routes. Marked the beginning of colonization and resource exploitation. This was a turning point when continents were no longer isolated and the world became smaller. 3. The Reformation. The split between Catholicism and Protestantism in the 16th century. The Western Catholic Church faced heavy criticism for corruption and excessive power. This sparked the Protestant Reformation. Martin Luther, 1517. The 95 Theses. Launching Protestantism. John Calvin emphasized discipline, morality, and hard work. Counter-Reformation. Catholic reforms, including the founding of the Jesuit order. Consequences: Europe divided into 2 major religious blocs. Violent conflicts such as the 30 Years' War, 1618 to 1648. The weakening of church authority and the rise of secular thought. 4. The Scientific Revolution. Transforming humanity's view of the universe. The early modern age witnessed dramatic advances in scientific knowledge. Nicholas Copernicus. Heliocentric theory: Galileo Galilei. Telescope astronomy. Mechanics: Johannes Kepler. Elliptical orbits: Isaac Newton. Universal gravitation. Classical mechanics. Modern scientific thinking emerged through experiment, observation, reasoning, rejection of traditional dogma. Foundations for the coming industrial revolution. Science became one of the primary forces driving social progress. The rise of early capitalism. With the growth of trade, finance, and colonization, Europe developed early forms of capitalism. The first joint stock companies, e.g., the Dutch VOC, modern banking systems, a wealthy bourgeois, a merchant class competitive market, economies. Production began shifting from small craft workshops to larger pre-industrial manufactory systems, preparing the way for 19th century industrial capitalism. 6. European colonial expansion. From the 16th to 18th centuries, European powers such as Spain, Portugal, England, France, and the Netherlands expanded their influence to the Americas, Africa, South Asia, Southeast Asia. Consequences: creation of vast colonial empires, resource extraction, slavery, and the transatlantic trade system. Spread of European languages, religion, and culture. Long-term demographic and economic transformations. Though this expansion caused immense suffering, it also interconnected civilizations and triggered the world's first wave of globalization. Significance of the early modern age. The early modern age laid the groundwork for the modern world. The rise of freedom, science and rationality, market economies, and capitalism. Religious division, and the rise of secular society. Geographic exploration, creating global networks. Flourishing art and knowledge. This was a period of dramatic transformation, moving humanity out of the feudal era and into an age of exploration, science, and global economic systems. 5. The Modern Age, 1800 present. The modern age marks the fastest and most transformative period in human history. In just over 2 centuries, humanity moved from traditional agricultural societies to industrial civilizations, and then into the digital and information era. This period witnessed profound changes in economics, politics, science, culture, and global conflict, reshaping the world more drastically than any previous era. The 19th century, industrialization and rising nationalism. 1. The Industrial Revolution, beginning in Britain in the late 18th century and spreading across Europe and the United States during the 19th century. The Industrial Revolution completely transformed production, Steam engines replaced human and animal labor. Factories and mechanized workshops emerged. Railways and steamships enabled rapid transportation of goods and people. Consequences: urbanization accelerated as workers moved to industrial cities. New social classes formed: the industrial bourgeoisie and the working class. Harsh working conditions sparked labor movements and social reforms. Point 2. The rise of modern capitalism. Industrial and financial capitalism expanded rapidly. Growth of major banks and stock markets. Industrial empires and global corporations emerged. Competition for markets and resources increased tensions between world powers. Point 3. Nationalism and independence movements. The 19th century also saw nationalism surge across continents. The unification of Germany, 1871, and Italy, 1861, that anti-colonial uprisings spread across Asia and Africa. Ideas of democracy, equality, and human rights spread after the American Revolution, 1776, and the French Revolution, 1789. These forces set the stage for global conflicts in the 20th century. B. The 20th century, war, technology, and a new world order. The 20th century was both the most tragic and the most advanced era in human history. Point 1. World War I, 1914 to 1918. A global conflict triggered by rising nationalism, imperial rivalry, and complex alliances. Over 70 million soldiers mobilized. New weapons appeared: tanks, machine guns, poison gas. The Austro-Hungarian, German, Russian, and Ottoman empires collapsed. It created long-term instability across Europe and the world. 2. World War II, 1939 to 1945. The largest and deadliest war in history. The Axis powers, Germany, Italy, Japan, fought the Allied powers. The Holocaust occurred, with millions of Jews and minorities murdered. The U.S. dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The war ended with massive geopolitical realignment. 3. The Cold War. The U.S. versus the Soviet Union, 1947 to 1991. The world divided into two ideological blocs: capitalism, led by the U.S., communism, led by the Soviet Union. Key features: the nuclear arms race, proxy wars, Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan. The space race, Sputnik, Apollo 11. Humans landed on the moon. The Cold War ended with the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991. 4. Decolonization after World War II. A global wave of independence movements swept the colonial world. Asian nations such as India, Vietnam, Indonesia gained independence. African nations liberated themselves from European empires. Dozens of new sovereign states emerged. 5. Technological explosion. The 20th century saw breakthroughs that reshaped civilization. Electronic computers, the internet, nuclear energy, space exploration, modern medicine, antibiotics, vaccines. Humanity entered the information age. C. The 21st century, globalization and the digital revolution. 1. The fourth industrial revolution. Modern technologies are transforming daily life. Artificial intelligence, AI, Internet of Things, IoT, big data, robotics, nanotechnology, genetic engineering, digital economies, and cryptocurrency. The world is more digitally connected than ever. 2. Globalization and new global challenges. The 21st century faces unprecedented problems: climate change, mass migration, and refugee crises, regional conflicts, Middle East, Ukraine, etc. Global pandemics, e.g., COVID-19, technological competition between major powers. The world has become increasingly complex and interdependent. 3. The rise of new global powers beyond the traditional Western powers. Emerging nations now influence global politics. China and India as rising economic superpowers. Brazil, Indonesia, Turkey, Nigeria, and others as new influential states. The global power balance is shifting toward a multipolar world. Significance of the modern age. The modern age has propelled humanity into industrial and digital civilizations, expanded scientific knowledge beyond anything imaginable in earlier eras, advanced democracy, human rights, and gender equality, created interconnected global economic and cultural systems, introduced new challenges that shape the future of humanity. This is the fastest changing era in human history, one that continues to redefine the world we live in.